What's going on, guys? Welcome back to BlackTideTV. We didn't put a video out yesterday and we didn't stream the weekly black market contracts because we were streaming all weekend long. We did like 4, 5 or 6 hour live streams on the weekend, grinding out to level 1000 on Black Ops 3, and you wouldn't think of it, but it actually takes a lot out of you to play video games for that long. And I was just tired beyond all belief yesterday. I only got about 2 hours of sleep before I got up yesterday, and I had to do a bunch of stuff around the house and whatever, but I just didn't get the time to put out a video yesterday. I just really didn't feel like it, more or less. So today, for making up for not doing a video yesterday, I'm doing something very special. You're going to notice that the format is going to change in this video. We're doing another slideshow, kind of like my Infinite Warfare multiplayer overview breakdown. In this video, we're going to be talking about all of the classic weapons that I'd like to see return for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. There is this new weapon category. I'll point it out on the screenshot that you're seeing right now. In the top right corner there, it's a classic category. It's on primary weapons and secondary weapons in Infinite Warfare, and it is confirmed to be weapons coming back from previous Call of Duty games. Now, because it is Infinity Ward, I believe it's only going to be Infinity Ward based games. So COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Ghosts. I don't think they're going to stretch as far back as Call of Duty 3. So I don't even think they did it would have been Call of Duty 2 Brothers in Arms, or I don't even know Call of Duty 2 is called, Big Red One. I don't know. I always get those older Call of Duties mixed up, but we're going to start with Call of Duty 4, and I'm going to run through all of the weapons that I've selected, some of my favorite weapons, some of the most popular weapons that I think will be returning for the classic category in Infinite Warfare. Now, there's no select number of how many weapons they're going to be bringing back. We don't know how they're going to be bringing them back. Maybe they're going to put them in a supply drop system. Maybe they're going to be putting them just into the game when you prestige, you hit these things, but they could be adding these classic weapons all throughout the year. So I have a pretty massive list. I've picked quite a few weapons from Modern Warfare 2 because it's my favorite, and from Ghosts because it's the most recent and it's most memorable for me. So Modern Warfare 3, COD 4, I didn't pick as many. COD 4, again, is a bit of an anomaly just because Call of Duty 4 is being remastered and sold with the game. So I don't know if they're going to bring back COD 4 weapons for Infinite Warfare as well, or what's going on there, but I have picked a few weapons from COD 4 that are personally my favorites and some of the more popular weapons, starting with the G36C. This weapon is really cool. This was one of my very first weapons that I ever used in this game. I remember playing COD 4. It was like my first really big Call of Duty, and I was playing it at my friend's house, and we were playing the campaign or something. I picked up the G36C, and it just felt good. It was the first weapon that I actually ever used, and every time in the campaign I came across this weapon, I would pick it up. I remember using this thing like all the time. It was one of my favorite weapons. It's just a very memorable weapon. Another one is the MP5. This is just a classic Call of Duty weapon. There's almost in every single Call of Duty game, there's been some version of the MP5. Modern Warfare 2 had the MP5K. There was, I can't even begin to explain how many different versions of the MP5 there were, but the original MP5 came from COD 4, and it would be awesome to have it back in Infinite Warfare. AK-74U, this is the original AK-74U. Yes, there was an AK-74U in COD 4 before it came out in Black Ops. I believe it was Black Ops, not Black Ops 2, but Black Ops remastered the AK-74U when they got into their games. When Treyarch got into their games, they put that gun back into Black Ops 1, I believe, just because it was such a cool weapon and everybody wanted it back. So it would make sense for them to bring it back for Infinite Warfare. And finally, the Desert Eagle. The Desert Eagle has returned, did return in Modern Warfare 2 and maybe even Modern Warfare 3. I can't really remember Modern Warfare 3 that well, but it definitely made its return in Modern Warfare 2. But the original Desert Eagle, the golden Desert Eagle that everybody makes a big deal about being the greatest gun of all time, came from COD 4, so it would be awesome to get a gold Desert Eagle or just a regular Desert Eagle, whatever you do in Infinite Warfare. One thing that I'd like to just kind of interject is I don't know if there's what the attachment options are going to be like for the classic weapons. Are there going to be the classic weapon attachments, like the attachments that they had in their own respective games? Are you going to be able to put on attachments that they actually had in their games, or are you going to have to use the attachments that come in Infinite Warfare? Say the red dot sight, for example, it has changed drastically over the years. It started out as kind of like a rectangle with rounded edges, and then we've had circular red dot sights, we've had completely square red dot sights. Are we going to have to use the red dot sight that comes in Infinite Warfare? Because then that won't feel like the classic version of the gun. Say like the MP5, for example. I remember using the MP5 a lot with a red dot sight, with that rounded edge red dot sight. if I have to use like a tall rectangular red dot sight or like a slant, like a angular red dot sight on that, it's not going to feel the same to me. So are we going to get the original attachments? Are we going to get new attachments? Are we only going to get select attachments on the classic weapons? Or will they be attachment free? You have to use the weapon the way you get it. Just some food for thought for you guys to think about as we continue through this list. So Modern Warfare 2 was my absolute favorite Call of Duty, and I've picked a lot of weapons out of Modern Warfare 2. There's a lot of very memorable weapons in Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 was one of the first years where Call of Duty really took off. This was like the #1 Call of Duty of all time at the time, or one of the #1 games of all time at the time. Probably still is. So this was a very, very popular kind of Call of Duty game, and this is where a lot of weapons got their start. Throughout the years, they've added these weapons back in other games, in Treyarch games, in Infinity Ward games. So there's a lot of opportunity for Modern Warfare 2 weapons to come back. They are very, very memorable weapons, and just the nostalgia factor of bringing back these weapons would be really cool. We do know for certain that the intervention is confirmed to be in the game, so I've just included it there. Intervention 100% confirmed, which is awesome. It's like everybody's favorite sniper rifle. Moving on to, these aren't in any particular order. They're not like SMGs and then assault rifles and whatever. They're just whatever came to my mind first. But moving on to the UMP45, I've seen a lot of people asking for this weapon. I've seen a lot of people saying this weapon better be in the game. I highly believe that this will be one of the weapons that comes into the game. UMP45, one of the most popular Call of Duty weapons of all time. Hands down, like there's no debate there. This is one of the craziest guns, and if it doesn't make its way into the classic weapons list, we're rioting. We've got the M4A1. This is just a classic weapon from Modern Warfare 2. This is where the M4 really got its start in the games. I mean, it did kind of, I think there was an M4. There must have been an M4 in CoD 4, but this was the most memorable M4 to me. They brought it back for Modern Warfare 3 and other games, but I just feel like the M4A1 in Modern Warfare 2 felt really special. It was the first gun that you got your hands on in multiplayer, but it worked. It was just really good. It was a really good feeling weapon, and you could use it throughout the entire multiplayer campaign, like your entire time playing multiplayer, and you would never get bored of using it. It was just a really fun to use weapon. More assault rifles here. We got the ACR. Yes, the ACR, the laser gun of legend. It's been brought back a bunch of times. ACR 6.8 in, was it Modern Warfare 3. Ghosts, it came back as some other kind of weapon. I can't remember what it was called in Ghosts, but I believe it came back again. But the ACR, one of the most popular weapons of all time again. We've got the SPAS 12. Remember, shotguns in Modern Warfare 2 were secondary weapons. SPAS 12 is hands down the best shotgun probably of all time. You could completely cross-map people with a secondary shotgun. This thing was insane to have this pump-action SPAS 12 as a primary weapon. It wouldn't be as good as it was in Modern Warfare 2, clearly, but it would be really cool to have back. The M9 is just an iconic secondary weapon, M9 being based on a real-world weapon. It has been in all of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare games. I believe it was in CoD 4, in Modern Warfare 2, and in Modern Warfare 3. It's always kind of acted the same. I just threw it in Modern Warfare 2 because that's when I remembered it. But it could come back from the M9 being in CoD 4. Could come back from it being in Modern Warfare 3. If it was in Modern Warfare 3, I can't really remember. But the M9 is just an iconic pistol. It needs to come back. AK-47, there's a lot of AK-47s that you could choose from in the Call of Duty franchise. I picked the AK-47 from Modern Warfare 2 because it was my absolute favorite. It was the hardest to unlock. It was the final unlock in the entire game. Unlocked at level 70, and it was worth it. It was worth it to get to level 70. A lot of people didn't even prestige in this game because they unlocked the AK-47, and it was just the most god tier weapon, so nobody wanted a prestige. It was worth it to get to level 70 just to use this AK-47. It was far superior to the CoD 4 AK-47. The AK-47 that returned from Modern Warfare 3 wasn't really great. The AK-12 and Ghosts had some very, very, it was really good at long range. It had a high long range potential, but at close range it wasn't as good. Whereas the AK-47 in Modern Warfare 2, it was just god tier at every range. It just felt really good. It looked really nice. It was one of my favorite weapons of all time. The M16A4, I've got a bunch of assault rifles from Modern Warfare 2. The assault rifles in Modern Warfare 2 are just so iconic. So the M16A4, there has been M16s in other Call of Duty games, but I just feel like the M16A4 was the best of them all. We've got the FAL. This is the first FAL. They brought it back for Black Ops 2. and maybe even Modern Warfare 3. I can't remember that well, but I do believe it came back for Black Ops and Black Ops 2 as with different names like FAL OSW or DSW, or I don't know what it was called, but this was the first FAL, and this one was the best. This one was very, very powerful, semi-automatic weapon, really sleek iron sights, and this thing you could cross-map people for days. It was a really great anti-sniper weapon. It sounded really nice. To hear the sounds remastered for that gun would just be it would just be amazing. So it would be really cool if we got the FAL back. The FAMAS, this is the original FAMAS, people, not the Black Ops FAMAS. The Black Ops FAMAS was ridiculous. It was a fully automatic hose machine that did come back as the FFAR in Black Ops 3. The original FAMAS from Modern Warfare 2 was a 3-round burst bullpup assault rifle, and this thing was really cool. It was very underrated. Barely anybody used it because people would unlock and use the M16A4 because it was a 3-round burst as well, and it did a little bit more damage. So people would use the M16 over the FAMAS, but the FAMAS had that fire rate. It was a 3-round burst, but it had the craziest fire rate. You could spam this thing, and it was really good. Very, very accurate. The most sleek iron sights. It was a really, really awesome weapon. The F2000, again, very underrated weapon from Modern Warfare 2. The F2000 was the second to last unlock. I believe it unlocked at level 68 or 69. And it just had the craziest fire rate. This is like the Black Ops FAMAS of Modern Warfare 2. It was kind of a stranger looking weapon. You never really saw anybody running it. A lot of people consider it to be a very bad weapon, but when you got used to it, this thing was insane. It had the highest fire rate of all the assault rifles. It could just spam shots off, and it had a relatively high damage. It would be neat to have it remastered and see if it can gain the popularity that it should have had in Modern Warfare 2 in Infinite Warfare. Next up, I have the LMGs. Really, any of the LMGs from Modern Warfare 2 were really great. I couldn't just pick one. They're all so iconic, and they all acted so differently. So we've got the RPD, the L86 LSW, the MG4 was great, the AUG bar, that would be a really awesome weapon to get back. And I didn't really use the M240 that much, but it is kind of an iconic weapon. It's been back for a bunch of different Call of Duty games. Last 4 weapons I have here are secondary weapons in Modern Warfare 2. First one being the M93 Raffica. So this is a 3-round burst. This is like the birth of the B23R for Black Ops 2, the whatever it's called in Black Ops 3, the RK5 for Black Ops 3. This was the first really powerful 3-round burst pistol. It's even got a stock. Like, this thing had a stock that came off the pistol. That's how powerful it is. Like, if you need a stock for your pistol, you know it's gonna be badass. This thing was insane. It was dropping people in 3 shots that have very long distances. It's a very powerful secondary weapon. Next, we've got the AA-12 shotgun. This is way better than the Modern Warfare 3 shotgun. People rioted when the Modern Warfare 3 shotgun, that was the AA-12, was just garbage. But the AA-12 in Modern Warfare 2, complete spam machine. It's like the Haymaker 12 from Black Ops 3, like ×7 on steroids. It was just the most powerful, fully automatic shotgun you've ever seen. Just crazy good shotgun. To put it as a primary weapon, it would balance the hell out of it. This thing was a secondary weapon, you have to remember. So when it was a secondary weapon, people could just take it out and spam around corners and just drop people. To put this as a primary weapon and to have to control your ammo rate, like your ammo capacity, and to have to control how you're going to use the weapon, it would make a very good primary weapon for those of us that could, you know, get the skill and know how to use it properly without wasting all the ammo, without blowing your aim everywhere. You've got your Model 1887s are next. Don't let the screenshot fool you. That's a mod that somebody's put the 1887s in Black Ops on Nuketown. This is a Modern Warfare 2 weapon. Model 1887s, what can you say about them? They're really good. If the SPAS 12 wasn't in Modern Warfare 2, the Model 1887 would be the best shotgun in the game. Not for single use. You don't just run around with one Model 1887 because that's a good way to die. You have to pull the lever each time you go to shoot it. You're just going to do bad when you have a single Model 1887 shotgun. But when you rock them akimbo and you do it like, what's the movie that they were in? Dead Rising? Not Dead, that's a video game. Night of the Living Dead. I don't know. There's some movie. It's like a sequel to some movie. I know I'm going to remember it the second I finish this commentary. But there's a guy that actually runs around with these like this exact same shotguns, Model 1887s, and he shoots them, and then he flips them around, like he flips them around in his hands to reload them, to work the lever and reload them. That's actually how you use them in Modern Warfare 2. Like you could shoot them both and reload these things super fast. Like it was almost a fully automatic shotgun if you got into the rhythm of spinning the shotgun, reworking the lever, and shooting them again. Model 1887 is just, you cannot beat it for an akimbo shotgun. It would be really cool if we got it back, but again, are we gonna get the standard, like the attachments that came on these weapons back in the day on these weapons? Because if they brought back the Model 1887 without akimbo, you might as well not even bring back the Model 1887 at all. Last weapon I picked from Modern Warfare 2 is another akimbo machine, the G18 fully automatic pistols. Really crazy, high ammo capacity. You could just spam these things. They were a little bit of a hit marker machine, like, and it was very, very inaccurate when you use it single-handedly. But akimbo, almost if a sniper was not using Model 1887 akimbo secondaries, they were using the G18 akimbo secondaries. Let's just say that. I found Modern Warfare 3 to be a little bit lackluster for weapons. I found like the weapons weren't as iconic as they were in other games, or weren't as memorable. So I've only picked a few weapons from Modern Warfare 3. The first one being the FMG9. This is basically the G18 of Modern Warfare 3. You know what the FMG9 was if you played Modern Warfare 3. This thing was insane. You took it out, you flipped it around, you got your two FMG9 akimbos, and well, it was just like the most overpowered gun in the entire game for quite some time before they nerfed the shit out of these things. But it was way too late. By the time they nerfed these things, everybody had already got their fill with them. Everybody had already spammed and ruined everybody else's life. Just using these things akimbo, they just spam out shots and they drop people super, super quick. It would be really cool to get them back. The MP7, this is where the birth of the MP7 took place, Modern Warfare 3. Black Ops 2 kind of perfected the MP7, but the MP7 did get its start in Modern Warfare 3. So to have it come back again would just be unreal. Could you imagine how many people would be running around that MP7 if it did come back? Like, the MP7 is such an iconic SMG. It's just one of the better SMGs in CoD history. To have that back would just be insane. And of course, the MSR. We are getting the intervention from Modern Warfare 2, so I'm not sure if we're going to be getting the MSR as well. MSR was basically took the place of the intervention for Modern Warfare 3. Those are the only three weapons I picked from Modern Warfare 3. Moving on to Ghosts now. I picked quite a few weapons from Ghosts because although a lot of people didn't like Ghosts, I liked it quite a bit. And some of these weapons were very different from weapons we've had in the past. Ghosts really kind of broke out of the barriers. They tried to take the game in a different direction. It's too bad that the community couldn't accept that direction. But Ghosts really had a whole new feel for the game. They had new maps, they had new streaks, they had new kind of perk system, they had new guns. Like, they had a whole lot of new features, and it sucks that they didn't really take off. Basically, when the community rejected that game, the studios just rejected everything that came out of Ghosts. They just trashed all of the ideas in Ghosts. They didn't try and save any of the little kind of nitpicky things that were really, really good about the game, like the weapons. There was so much weapon variety in this game. First weapon that we need to talk about. What's the first weapon that comes to your mind when I say think of a weapon from Call of Duty Ghosts? The Honey Badger. You cannot go wrong with the Honey Badger. This thing was such a crazy assault rifle, a built-in suppressor. This is something that we've never seen before in any game, built-in attachments. To have a Honey Badger come back, that would be really cool. It's just an iconic weapon from Ghosts, and it felt really good. It was very accurate. It did high damage. It had this built-in suppressor, which was really neat. It had such a distinctive sound. It was just a really cool weapon, and I'd love to see the Honey Badger return for Infinite Warfare. Next is the MSBS. This gun was BS. That's definitely in the title of the gun for a reason. For the first bit of this game, the MSBS was very, very, very good at the beginning of this game, at the beginning of Ghosts. It was just dropping people across the map with a single burst. You could put on that fully automatic or that fire mode switch or whatever, so you could put it on fully automatic, and it was just unstoppable. About halfway through the game, they nerfed the shit out of it, but to have it come back pre-nerf, it would be amazing. The MSBS was one of the most used weapons in Ghosts for a good reason. Remington R5 is next. This is sort of like these, I think it was the CM901 in Modern Warfare 3. I would have picked the CM901 for Modern Warfare 3, but the Remington R5 is just, it's more iconic to me. It's got that really loud, like that bassy fire when you're shooting this weapon. It really feels like you're shooting a real weapon. Like you could feel the kick in your, like if you have your vibration on, or even if you're just watching the kick on the screen, like you could feel the kick in that gun. You could feel that it was a realistic style gun. Like it felt real, it sounded real. It was just a really cool weapon. It's just all those things culminating together just made it a really awesome weapon to use. It was a little bit harder to use at first just because it wasn't like it had those realistic aspects to it. Like it had the kick and you had to compensate for that. But once you learned to compensate for that, it was totally worth it because it was such a powerful weapon. The MTAR X, what can be said about the MTAR X that hasn't been said already? It is one of the most god tier weapons of any Call of Duty game. It had a really wonky iron sight, like it had like this weird circular iron sight that was kind of small and hard to see through. I really liked the iron sight actually. It was just so unique that I used it anyways. I didn't put optics on it. I usually put optics on iron sights that bad, but it was just so unique and so cool looking that I always wanted to use the iron sight. The MTAR X is just a really good weapon. I believe it was the last SMG that you unlocked, and for good reason. It was very powerful. A lot of people use the MTAR X for most of their time in Call of Duty Ghosts. We've got the M27 IAR. This is a LMG from Ghosts, and this was one of the first LMGs, if not the first LMG that was ever used in the pro scene. That's how good this LMG was. It was so accurate. It had this crescent moon shaped iron sight, but it was so accurate. That's what was so awesome about this weapon. It had zero recoil, like almost zero recoil. The pros were using it. You'd throw a thermal sight on that thing and it was unstoppable. Everybody loved the M27 IAR. It was the first big LMG in Call of Duty games. People have used LMGs before, but the M27 was the LMG that everybody used, which was crazy. It was a breakout LMG. Normally the LMGs don't do so well in the mainstream audience. The USR, again, it's taking the place of the MSR from Modern Warfare 3, which took the place of the Intervention from Modern Warfare 2, which we are getting in Infinite Warfare. So are we going to get the USR as well? Likely not, but I really like the USR. It was one of my favorite sniper rifles in CoD history. It just felt really nice. I don't know, I could hit some really good snipes with it in Ghosts. I would just like for it to return. It would feel really awesome if it did come back, and I could see it being in a futuristic setting. It's kind of a more simple kind of a sniper rifle. Like it doesn't have all the bits and bobs all over it. It was very sleek, very stylish, very simple, and I could see that being an actual futuristic weapon, even though it would be coming back as a classic. The MTS-255, you probably forgot about this shotgun from Ghosts, but now that I am showing you the picture of it, I bet some light bulbs are coming on. The MTS-255 was the revolver, like the revolving shotgun. I can't even really remember how it worked that well, but like just looking at the pictures, you can kind of see it in your dream. It'll haunt your dreams tonight. People running around with that shotgun. It was really, really cool, kind of like a semi-automatic revolving shotgun. It was just an awesome shotgun. It was very different for its time. It was a unique shotgun where everything else was like either just pump action or semi-automatic. This was a very unique shotgun, and it was very cool to use. The MP443 Grok before Advanced Warfare took hold of this gun and completely ruined it by making it a 2-round burst. The MP443 Grok was a semi-automatic pistol in Call of Duty Ghosts, and it had the highest fire rate. There was basically no fire cap on the MP443 Grok. It had a little bit lower damage, but you could completely spam this weapon. Like, as fast as you could pull the trigger on your controller, you could probably still pull it twice as fast as that, and it would still fire just that fast. It was just incredibly powerful. If you had a good trigger finger, you were unstoppable with the MP443. The chainsaw, I just kind of threw that in there for fun. Could you imagine running around in a futuristic game, like doing like the wall runs and stuff with this hip fire LMG that you can just spam people with the chainsaw? It was just a fun weapon in Ghosts when you were boots on the ground. Could you imagine how fun that would be, jumping around in the air and running on walls and spraying people with that thing? It would just be unreal. It would be hilarious. I'd love to see some gameplays with the chainsaw in a futuristic game like Infinite Warfare. The Maverick is a DLC weapon that came back. I don't really care that much for the Maverick sniper rifle. I never did too awesome with it. It had a cool sight, but apart from that, it was more or less useless to me. But the Maverick assault rifle was really cool. Had some awesome iron sights. It was one of the first DLC weapons to ever come into Call of Duty. The Peacekeeper in Black Ops 2, and then there was the Maverick and the Maverick A2 sniper rifle in Ghosts, and then after that the Ripper, which we'll talk about in a second. But the Maverick was just a really cool weapon. It felt really nice. It sounded really cool, and I remember getting that and being that one person running around with the Maverick and being like, yes, this is a really cool weapon. Not that many people have it. I remember trying to, well, before I don't know if it was while my DLC was downloading or something like that, I was running around, or maybe I didn't get the DLC until later, but I remember that for a time I didn't actually have the Maverick myself, and I was running around trying to find it on the ground. Like, I was frantic to find it on the ground. I'm like, I'm just getting slayed by it in these DLC maps because I'm playing like the most recent DLC map pack, but I didn't get the map pack that had the Maverick yet in it or something like that. And I'm playing the DLC map, and there's everybody and their brother is using the Maverick, and I don't have it yet. I'm like frantically like running around, like grabbing on the ground, like, give me the Maverick, give me the Maverick. Everyone's trying to kill me with it. It was just a really cool weapon, and it was the first big, well, apart from the Peacekeeper, the first big kind of DLC weapon that everybody wanted to get their hands on. Last but not least, the Ripper. It has returned in Infinite Warfare. It's not returning as a classic weapon. It's actually just the SMG in this game. It's still the exact same Ripper from Ghosts. It's got the SMG. You pull it apart and it becomes an assault rifle. It's actually making an appearance in Infinite Warfare as a standard weapon. We have seen that confirmed. So there's that. That is it for all of the weapons that I've chosen for classic weapons returning in Infinite Warfare. From COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Ghosts. Now, I don't know if they're going to return, like if they're going to bring back weapons from Black Ops or Black Ops 2 or World at War, like weapons or Advanced Warfare for that matter, weapons from other studios. I don't know if they have the rights to do that because they are making their own game. Maybe, maybe not. If you guys wanted, and let me know in the comment section down below, I'll let you guys know what weapons I'd like them to bring back from those games. If they do indeed bring back weapons from those games, I can make another video on that. If you are interested, let me know in the comment section down below. But as far as the weapons from previous Infinity Ward games, those are all the weapons that I've picked. Let me know what weapons you'd like to see from COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Ghosts in the comment section down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. It was a little bit harder to make. These slideshows are definitely a little bit extra. Like, they're a little bit extra to do these over just a standard gameplay commentary. So I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. It helps out a lot. You can check out the description if you are feeling generous and you wanted to send me a donation because I'm poor and I need my money to, you know, get the new games and stuff. But if you were looking to send a donation, there's a link down there in the description. But if you can't afford that, if you can't be bothered, a like really helps out. You have no idea how much a like actually helps out on YouTube. So slap that like button, slap the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We do videos like this every day, well, except for yesterday, because I didn't feel like making a video yesterday, and now I'm rambling, and we got to finish this video. Tomorrow, I'll be starting some Modern Warfare Remastered campaign, because I did go and completely pre-order or pre-purchase Infinite Warfare Legacy Pro Edition, so we will have campaign gameplay from Modern Warfare Remastered. I haven't decided if I'm going to do live streams or if I'm going to do regular like mission videos or something like that, but I will figure that out by tomorrow. I've actually asked on Twitter what you guys think at BlackTideTV. Follow me over there. But tomorrow, Modern Warfare Remastered campaign in some shape or form is going to be happening, so make sure you're coming back for that. Again, best way to know that those videos are coming out is following me on Twitter at BlackTideTV, or subscribing, clicking on that little bell for notifications. The little bell is going to appear next to the subscribe button. You can turn on your notifications so you never, ever, ever miss a video that comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Huge video today, and it was a lot of work, but I think it paid off. I'll see you guys on the next video. Modern Warfare Remastered, Modern Warfare Remastered, coming tomorrow. Peace.